So I've had lots of people ask me about how do I make my little fuzzy tear bears. So today I'm going to demonstrate how I make these cute little fellows. So one of the first things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make a pattern of your bear. You're going to need a big ear, a little ear, a head, a muzzle, an arm, a leg, a body. And on this bear I have little feet. When I sit them down I put little feet on them. I don't have a little piece for that, but that's also there too. And when you're making your pattern, make it out of something fairly thick so that you can trace over it around it a bunch of times. And you'll notice that the head and the body are about the same size. That may seem out of proportion, but when you put it all together, he does work out right. And so after you make your pattern, you're going to want to get some mulberry paper. And now mulberry paper, there's a few different kinds. Don't get the thin kind, get the that you can see through, get the really thick kind. I don't know if you can tell how thick that is, but this is really thick paper. And so there's a girl on eBay that sells some extra thick mulberry paper. That's where I get mine. And so the front side of the mulberry paper is all bumpy, and the back side of the mulberry paper is nice and smooth. So on the back side of the paper you're going to want to draw out all of your pieces. For the arms and the legs, you can just flip it over and make the other arm. And you'll notice that I have labeled all the pieces because when they're cut out, sometimes you can't tell what they are. So after you've traced all of your pattern onto the back side of the mulberry paper, you're going to need to take a sharp tool. This is just a paper piercing tool, and just lightly score right on top of where all of your pencil lines are. I'm not really pushing very hard. This will help whenever you're tearing the pieces apart. It will help tear right where you're wanting it to tear. So after you've gone through and scored all the pencil lines, you're going to need to, you can either use a paintbrush with water or a Q-tip with water. What I'm going to use is a thing that I saw a girl on eBay or on YouTube use. She took a glue pen, a Martha Stewart glue pen, and she emptied out all the glue and washed it out and filled it up with water, and that's what I've done here. And so it's not a glue pen anymore, it's a water pen. So I'm just going to trace around all those lines that I just scored with the water. Now you want to be able to see the water just seeping through to the back part. And this is where the tear part comes in, the tear bear, is you're just going to slowly tear each of these pieces out. And it causes that paper to look fuzzy. And so after you've torn out all of your pieces, you're going to need to let them dry. This is the muzzle part and the small ear part. I did in a lighter color because they're a lighter color. After you've torn all your pieces and you have let them dry, because if you work with them before they're dry, it will just wreck the paper and it won't work right. Next I'm going to take some Pebbles Classic Chalks, and I'm going to take the brown and just going to fill up the brown with some brown chalk and chalk the edges of all of the pieces. And the reason I chalk the edges is because you can tell in this first bear that I did, it's kind of hard to distinguish the arms from the body from the legs. And so it really helps make out the parts of the bear better. So after it dries, you're going to chalk all the edges. Then once you have all of your edges chalked, you're going to take each piece and with a wire brush, this is just a wire brush that you can get at any hardware store. They're fairly cheap too. On the back side of each piece, you're going to brush it outward. That just sort of tears the fibers on the back and makes them fluffy. And you just need it fluffy at the edge. So go around each piece and do that on the back side. Then I flip it over to the front side, and with sort of a circular motion, I press down just enough to score the paper, but in little circular motions I fluff up that paper too. I don't know if you can tell or not how it makes it look fluffy. See it from the side maybe. So then, once I've fluffed up all of my pieces, then I take my head and I've glued on the muzzle part. So this is my head and the muzzle right now. And with that same brown chalk, I'm going to take the brown and just in the area where the eyes are, I'm going to put some brown. And some more on the other side, the other eye. Then I take and load some white and put white down the middle there. Next, I'm going to take my ears and finish fluffing them up, and the lighter color. And for glue, I'm just going to use a quick dry adhesive. This is just Scotch quick dry adhesive, and you need to use your glue very sparingly. A hot glue gun doesn't work well. If you get glue to where it seeps out from underneath the piece, it will really mess it up. It won't look good. It will totally show and you'll have to rip the piece up. So don't use a lot of glue, and a hot glue gun won't work. And so after I get my ears put on, let's say I have both ears put on, then I'll take a little bit of pink of this chalk and I'll put some little pink cheeks on and a little bit of pink on each ear. So that then, and then I'll glue all of my pieces together, and this is what I'll have. This bear's sort of in the standing position. Next I make some eyes. I'll just draw up a bunch of eyes and color them in with markers and then cut them out. And I like big eyes. I started out, the first bears I made, I just used oval punches, but I've worked on my eyes. I like big eyes, and I like to slant them in just a little bit, like so. And again, be careful when you're gluing these on that you don't use too much glue, because it will mess up the piece. You'll have to pull it off. So, stick my eyes on there. For the nose, I just use this punch. I use black cardstock and just use that little part of it to make the nose. Put a little glue on there, and there's the nose. Next, I take a black gel pen and I'm going to just draw just beside each eye, sort of like eyeliner, I suppose. And then I give each side about 5 or so eyelashes, a couple of freckles on each side, and I don't really draw a mouth anymore. I used to draw mouths on them, but I don't anymore. Next, I'll take a white gel pen and add some white accents to it. Just add some white to this bear's eyes. And a little bit to his nose, maybe. And whenever I'm done with all of my details, and the more detail you get on the face too, I think the cuter the bear is. But whenever I'm done with all of my details, and I'll go back with a softer brush. This one's softer than the wire brush. It's harder than maybe a toothbrush, but you could use a toothbrush. I just try and fluff him up a little bit after I've touched him and matted him all down. I just give him one more little good fluff up. And then there you have it. That's how I make my Tear Bears. And from here, you can do lots of cute things. You can dress up the bears. You can make clothes for them. You can have your bears standing or sitting. They can be holding things. You can make the bear just be peeking out from behind a corner of something, like just have the bear's head sticking out just out of the corner, and maybe have his hands here. It's never ending. There's a Cricut cartridge for everyday paper dolls that has really cute clothes too that you can put on the bears. And so there you have it. Thank you for watching.